There are 4 stages to your rebirth. So this video is for you if you have been in the past few years, if you've been going through your healing journey, perhaps you started to set boundaries, you recognize some of your patterns such as codependency or people pleasing, and you've taken the initial steps to make shifts in how you approach your life and your relationships. And now it feels like you're at this point of no return. You're at a stage where you can't return to who you once were, and yet you feel timid and maybe even a little bit afraid of what's ahead. But you know deep down inside, you are on the cusp of a rebirth. And even though that process is very cosmic, it's very mysterious, there's so much in the rebirthing process that isn't predictable. You can't say, okay, this is going to happen at this stage exactly, and this is exactly who I'm going to be on the other side. That's the whole point of this rebirth. It's that you don't quite know what you're transforming into, but you feel a deep call to take the step that perhaps you kind of known for a long time you needed to take, but you just weren't ready to let yourself go there. And now life has brought you to a position in your life where it feels like you have no choice but to finally take that step. And that can feel both like fate at work and also a little bit scary. Like, oh my gosh, I can't go back to how I used to be in these relationships. It's not going to work. I know too much now, or I can't go back to how I used to be in my work or my career. I know too much about myself now. I know that there's something else that I'm meant to do, and I've kind of known for a long time, but I wasn't ready to step into it. And now it feels like my life is stalled out. Things are in this kind of quasi limbo state. And I know that the next step is to take this step into this next level version of me. But am I ready? What is it going to be like? And so hopefully in this video, you'll feel a little bit more ready to take that step. And I also have an opportunity, if you'd like me, to guide you on that journey. So hi, I'm Yanique Bell. I'm a certified intimacy coach and spiritual guide. Really what that means is I'm here to help you become intimate with yourself, and not just the self that maybe you present to the world right now, but also access what I like to call the deeper self and allow that to inform your relationships, how you love, how you create, and how you approach life. If you vibe with my energy, if this work resonates with you, then please do hit like and subscribe so that we can continue to journey together. All right, so let's talk about the 4 stages of your rebirth. Stage 1, feeling alienated. This is where we start to feel almost alien in our lives, or we feel like the way that we approach things is quite different. Maybe we don't fit in with our old circle as much as we used to, or we just don't feel that we belong to the same degree. We feel like maybe others don't understand us. This is likely the stage that you're in right now. This is where you're feeling alien to what used to feel comfortable and familiar. You know, initially when you started your healing journey, likely there were a lot of new choices that you knew you needed to make. And even though they were new, they were still familiar. When we first start our healing journey, we're often taking a lot of steps that feel alien, that feel different, but they still feel familiar because they're widely accepted as things that you quote unquote should be doing, such as setting boundaries, right? Practicing self-love, self-care, or reparenting ourselves, working with our inner child, or prioritizing pleasure, prioritizing play, practicing self-love. All of this sounds good and right. And so even though it may be new when you're just beginning your healing journey and you're taking these steps maybe for the first time, especially if you're a trauma survivor, it still feels familiar in a way because it feels widely spoken about, talked about, and there is this sense of, okay, I'm doing the thing, right? I'm journeying with the majority of people here. But in this next evolution of your healing and spiritual journey, when you are on the cusp of this rebirth, and I mean truly like a rebirth, there is a different layer to the changes that you're making. It actually feels like you're going beyond what you previously had a map for. And actually, there is no map because you can't map your soul's journey onto someone else's. So there is no book written on what this is going to look like exactly for you. You're essentially ditching the formula, and there isn't quite a collection of rules and shoulds, and this is what a healthy person looks like. That is starting to disintegrate, and you're actually starting to view things with less judgment. Perhaps you're starting to understand the totality of the universe differently. You're no longer putting things in these categories of good and bad. In fact, you're starting to see how everything is energy in conversation with itself, and the duality of reality is dissolving. In fact, you're maybe starting to see that it was never really real. But not so much as in that it doesn't exist, but more so in how we conceptualize it. It's real in that it exists, but there is a dimension to it that is more fluid. As you can probably tell in this stage, it can feel very hard to communicate what you're feeling. And it's normal to feel confused because your old way of holding things is shifting, and you're feeling lighter about things that maybe you used to hold very tightly to, categories that felt like I have to hold tightly to this in order to survive. And personally, I've come to really love this stage because it's actually a transition from the first initial awakening, when perhaps you're awakening to the love of the universe, right? And you're feeling like, gosh, why don't we all live more peaceful and loving lives? And I don't know about you, but I remember feeling quite alarmed or bitter or charged or fearful and guarded around this. Like, why do we live this? Why do we live like this? Why is there violence or wars, right? And in this stage of the rebirth, there is a softening of that energy. There is a forgiving of reality. There's a forgiving of what is. And there is a forgiving of what we've experienced, the traumas we've endured. There's also forgiving of the world that is. We're no longer trying to force it to change in a way. Instead, we're becoming calm within it. And I think people misinterpret this step a lot because it can easily go into feeling like we're separate from the world, as in like we're alien from it, we're keeping ourselves separate from it. But it actually, when you're actually deeply allowing the stage, you are becoming one with the world. You're becoming one with the fluctuation of energies and the polarity of things, and you're no longer fighting against it. You're simply being a part of the flow of life. And it doesn't mean that you're flowing emotionally with the ups and downs of chaos, but you are allowing of it. You're not resisting against it. And that means that you get to choose what you want to be amidst it. If you're not fighting against it, that means you get to hold a dominant vibration of something else, something new. And I think that's where we can really do tremendous work in this world, is being a part of the world, but energetically being true to ourselves. So not rejecting the harsh realities of the world and disgust and indignation, but learning to be present with it in a way that is grounded in your true nature and your deeper self, softening to the systems that be, and also being able to act from wisdom. Doesn't mean that you need to embed yourself further into harmful conditions, but you don't need to fight against it either to remain safe. And so my work, when I work with clients in this stage, is to make sure that you know how to regulate your nervous system. We do a lot of nervous system regulation work and restoring somatic safety here, because this is what's really needed to allow this spiritual expansion. It's learning to communicate to the ego mind that it's actually safe to relax into this state and trust your deeper knowing to guide you through things that maybe would have triggered a harsh response from you before. In this stage, I also like to employ a lot of gentle somatic healing practices for trauma healing. And I combine this with deeper self work, because if you can stay connected to the deeper self while you are moving that energy through your body, it actually allows you to go deeper. It allows you to feel even more supported and resourced to let go of that trauma response, or to allow yourself to be present even when chaos is amongst you. And so if you're someone who historically has struggled with taking on other people's energy, not able to just be present, but whenever you're there, you feel like a sponge and you feel frustrated afterwards and you kind of lose yourself, especially when you are with high conflict people, or even people who just have a resonance that is so uniquely them, you almost feel like you need to mirror it or take it on. This is especially true if you're on the spectrum or neurodivergent. You may have learned that skill to survive, that you need to, match energy to make others feel comfortable, or to indicate to them that you're someone who is friendly or likable or what have you. And so it's an unlearning of that pattern, that impulse to kind of reflect back and instead simply allow yourself to be grounded in your own deeper self. And so even though you entered this initial stage feeling alienated, you actually end feeling deeply intertwined with all that is and allowing of all that is, which I think is pretty cool. And that brings us to stage 2, which is unmasking the true self. In this stage, we are concerning ourselves less with trying to put on a facade that is pleasing to others, or one that is more easily understood. A personality and ego that can fit neatly into a box. And this is something that I personally definitely struggled with, especially in sharing these deeper self teachings, because there is that question of, will this be received well? Am I communicating clearly? Are you able to hear what I'm actually trying to say? And how do I package it so that, of course, especially here on YouTube, we want to be catchy. We want to, find resonance and get people to the message. But in this stage, there is this relaxing and knowing that you're home. So we move from being alienated to actually realizing, oh, right, I'm at home here. And I'm actually not an alien, and others are not alien from me, and therefore when I speak, I can be heard. I can actually be recognized on a soul level when I communicate, and so I don't need to worry so much about how I'm being perceived. And this can feel so good if you're someone who experienced, for example, scapegoat abuse. I did. Or similar traumas in childhood or adulthood, where you tend to typically ruminate a lot and you've been gaslit enough that you're not sure that you're being seen as who you are. And typically that insecurity doesn't come from any truth in that, but more so someone choosing not to see you and choosing to actively put a different picture on top of who you are, your own photo. And this can create a mismatch inside, because we're not getting the accurate response from the outside world to reflect and confirm, oh, you're seeing like this ego, this mask, this personality is right. You're seeing me correctly. I'm expressing myself correctly. And so when you go through those kinds of traumas, you can feel very muddied inside about whether or not others are perceiving you well. And this becomes a primary concern and something you're constantly watching for and trying to mitigate throughout your interactions. And so hopefully by now in your healing journey, you've come to a point where you recognize, oh, that person is purposefully trying to misunderstand me, or they've got a hidden agenda. And so now the work is releasing that patterning, that impulse to kind of keep checking in with others. Am I holding up the mask right? Am I holding up the mask correctly? Am I portraying myself correctly? And in this stage, our obsession with the ego or the mask starts to fall away, and we just let ourselves be. You actually start to find spiritual rest in just letting yourself be. So we're in the last stage. We're working to help our nervous system feel safe and restore somatic safety. In this stage, we are actually finding that safety and relaxation within that deep spiritual rest. And the gift of this stage is that now that you're no longer expending so much energy trying to mitigate how you're being perceived, and you're now finally letting yourself be, you'll start to notice new desires being revealed. So if you've really struggled in the past to identify what your soul's purpose is, what is your reason for being, this is the stage where you start to feel that more strongly. Typically before this, our soul's purpose was very connected to what we experience, negative experiences that we experienced in the past. So at the end of this stage, we're really revisiting that age-old question of why am I here? But from the part of us that actually has an answer to that. So before this stage, what a lot of us can go through early on in life, as we're choosing our career paths, is we are responding, right? We're reacting to our past experiences. Our life purpose is often being dictated by what we've experienced in the past. So maybe some wrongdoing or injustice that we now feel a purpose to right. If you're someone who's recovering from codependency, you may have noticed that your life purpose was very much caregiver coded. So you were in the helper professions, or you felt a strong need to save the world or save others. Alternatively, maybe you were reacting to a trauma or being made to feel small. And so you wanted to feel big. You wanted to be the best at X, Y, and Z. And that's how you would reclaim your worth or show that parent, that caregiver, those who bullied you early on in life, let them know I'm someone and you're no one, right? And so we create this bigness of this image of feeling larger than life in order to fill that need to be seen and recognized as worthy. But when you're coming from your deeper self and you're already grounded in love, then what you choose to create starts to be different. The reasons why you create start to shift. So even if you continue with the same profession, likely how it lands in your body, in your energetic field, how you show up, is going to shift massively. And so if you're someone who is in a helper or caregiver profession and notice that you get really burnt out in that work, here in this stage, you may notice that you no longer feel burnt out by the work and you're approaching it from a different space. And the reason why you're there is no longer to save, perhaps. You're actually showing up from that mindset of I'm here to be and to experience this work and experience what it's like to care for another and connect with another. And so the work actually starts to feed your soul instead of simply depleting. Likewise, if you're someone who felt like you had to become the best of everything in order to be loved, you now show up without that anxiety, that need to prove yourself. And so here you can actually do work that is meaningful to you and isn't really about putting on a show. And unsurprisingly, you may also feel yourself pulled into desires that maybe you thought very flippantly of, like, oh, maybe that would be nice, right? But you never let yourself really think about doing it in the past because it didn't fit in with the character that you were playing or what you thought was possible or the unresolved trauma or unfinished business that you were trying to take care of through your career choices or your profession, right? And so now that all of that is cleared away, you may notice yourself feeling an affinity to things that you thought were maybe just like, oh, this is something I'm interested in, but it's not really my purpose. Suddenly you feel that call, that pull towards it because you're feeling called towards what feels joyful, what feels energizing what is like where you're actually naturally flowing love to. And so this is a really juicy place. This is where your sacred desires are revealed. And that brings us to stage number 3, re-experiencing the self. In this stage, you are starting to experience the self differently. This is where you're noticing that you aren't a set collection of thoughts and desires, and like you're not a set personality. And in fact, the deeper self, your true nature, isn't a self at all. But for ease of language, I call it re-experiencing the self. Here you're entering a really receptive state. You are allowing things to come to you, ideas to come to you, and you're reimagining the world from not in reaction to what's going on, but from a really original source of creativity. This is where you can have truly original thoughts, things that have never been created or thoughts that have never been thought start to come to you. You're starting to let go of the limitations of how good you can feel or what has been created by humankind so far. As an intimacy coach that is trained in the Tantric approach to intimacy and relationships, this is where I actually like to weave in that energy system and use those breathwork practices to expand, right? Allow the surrendering to that expansive higher consciousness. If you choose to work with me, it depends on how spicy you want to get, but we do incorporate practices to help you surrender to that energetic upgrade. For me personally, because I've done a lot of work in this area and freeing up the energy, the flow of energy in my body, I notice that when I allow for these deep states of meditation, I actually become pleasurably, I don't know if I can say it on this, whenever I mention conscious pleasure, if I go too explicit, my videos get docked, so I won't go too descriptive, but you can feel the ripple of energy in your heart space and in your throat. This is without stimulation. It's just, you can feel how pleasurable the universe is. I'll leave it at that. I'm in the process of working on my website, getting it back up, and so I will leave that spicy content for that. We'll work on getting a membership there, just because censorship here on YouTube doesn't allow me to say more. But if you're curious, obviously feel free to reach out and we can discuss further in a consultation or exploration call. So in this stage, you can either work with physical pleasure or simply in meditation feel yourself climbing that pleasure ladder and allowing those higher states of bliss. And it doesn't mean that you have to hold this energy all the time. I certainly don't, not at this point. Maybe I will someday. I really don't know. I'm very open to the process and not holding too tightly to a goal or creating these strict rules, because that is very counterintuitive to this process, right? But in this stage, you're experiencing yourself in you, and you're no longer feeling caged in by categories or what the self is. And you perhaps may notice that you can shift into different states very easily. Your intuitive gifts start to open up. And when I say shift into different states, I really do mean that your intuitive gifts start to open up. You feel like more of a cosmic being instead of just focused here and wherever you're located on, whatever your longitude and latitude is. You actually feel more expansive, and like your presence extends beyond just your physical body. You're more open to the many dimensions of you through space and time. And so however that integrates for your specific journey, obviously will be unique to you. It very much depends on what you're spiritually open to, what gifts you're open to, which you can dictate. I certainly did early in my journey. I was always pretty intuitively gifted since I was a child. And I think that comes from my ancestral line. And there were things where I was like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to feel the presence of ghosts. And I sometimes would pick up on it when I was a kid, and I'd be like, nope, didn't see that. don't sense that. But as I've gotten more comfortable in my gifts and feeling protected and safe, and I'm less threatened by the darkness, I feel more at ease. And there's still lines for me, but I'm not fearful of my intuitive gifts, and I see the gift in them, and no longer trying to control them either. And so if you're intimidated by that aspect of it, if you're thinking, I'm just going to become a weirdo who senses things and and I have no control over it, I want you to know that you do. You set the metric of what you allow in, right? And that is a conversation you can have with your soul. There is nothing to fear. If you've ever done meditation or tried tantric practices, it's very similar, right? You usually begin with an intention and you are directing how the experience is going to unfold. Same with plant medicine as well, right? You can direct initially, you can set the tone for how this is going to go. And the same is true for your spiritual journey. And this takes us to stage 4, which is dissolving fear and control, which sounds kind of counterintuitive because I think we want to start with this step. And I think that's taught a lot too. Like, oh, you just need to switch out of a fear state and into love. Are you tuning into fear or are you tuning into love? And I actually find that that's not useful. If you have listened to my Deeper Self podcast, I do have season 2 coming out soon, by the way. I'm in the process of filming. But my perspective on this is that there are certain things that the ego mind cannot do. And because we are programmed for safety, our body, right, our physiology wants to remain safe. It is unkind to require, to request, to demand from our minds that it release fear and it release control, especially if it's in a state of dysregulation. I just think that is unkind. It's very cruel to ourselves to do that. You can't release fear if you're already in a state of fear. In the same way that you can't really release doubt when you're in a doubtful state, the same is true for fear, right? We can't request that if you're already in that state. You have to access something else. And so I find that it's actually way more beneficial to work with the deeper self and guiding your mind to feel safe again. And so in this final stage, this is where we confront those big fears, those lifelong fears, right? Maybe it's the fear of being alone, the fear of actually living your desire, letting yourself have that. If you try to release that fear by arguing with your ego mind, it will only offer more and more reasons why that desire is unsafe or it's going to end poorly. And so you have to allow yourself to finally release your attachment to figuring that all out and resting in the knowing of your deeper self. So allowing yourself to see and sense and re-experience the desire and how to bring it about from the vantage point of your deeper self instead of going back into the old pattern of trying to create it from the mind. And so this is where we're changing how we're actually operating and we're changing how we create. Really big stuff. What I refer to as your deeper self is your soul's true nature. So this is you that is unchanged by trauma, by life experiences. This is a part of you that remains whole and intact. It is the eternal, ever-present awareness that breeds us all. Really big stuff. And so those are the 4 stages. I know this was probably a little bit more technical than you anticipated, but hopefully it feels like there's a clear methodology, there's a clear path, even though there's so much mystery also woven into it. And so this is what I'm here to help you do. Of course, the themes that you'll encounter at each of these stages, they're going to be unique to you. It's not really a process that we go through step by step, but rather something that we feel our way through. And it helps to have a guide who is anchored in their own deeper self and able to be that steady light as you're finding your way towards your own inner light. You'll often feel me take your hand in session, even though it's virtual, and just let you know what you're experiencing is normal. This is good. This is a good sign, right? Because I know how to feel my way through that evolution. Where we often get stuck in this birthing canal is when we are feeling like something has gone wrong and we're like tensing instead of allowing the birthing to happen, right? There's this natural like process of, oh, I'm going to kind of feel like I'm going backwards, or oh, this feels a little bit scary or painful. But if I know that I'm safe, then I can allow it to be, instead of encoding it as a fear response, I can actually experience this as simply intensity, as, oh, I'm just meeting this sacred emotion and I'm allowing myself to experience this. And then beyond this, oh wow, an expansion. So contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion. And doing this on your own can feel intimidating, and it certainly was for me. When you're feeling unstable in this process, fear can kind of keep you stuck on one step instead of moving forward because you're not trusting where you're guided. You have no idea how many times I've found myself coming back to the same realization and being like, wait a minute, I was here last year, right? And so you can tend to draw the process out without proper guidance, without that holding. And so if you're someone who's going through this rebirthing and would love my support, then feel free to join me in my New Year special, Oh Rebirth. I have included, I think it's over 25 coaching hours. This is a 4-month journey, can easily fit into a 4-month journey. But if you are someone who likes more space, if you're someone who likes more space, you can also expand it into a 6-month, 8-month journey, depending on what feels good to your body, your nervous system, what it's going to take for you to integrate each session, right? So we all move at different paces. But if you're someone who would like to do that in this new year, if you'd like to actually allow this rebirthing of you, then I'm here to help. I'm here to be that guide. I would love to be that guide. You'll also notice that my approach is grounded in a trauma-informed understanding of the nervous system. So yes, we are exploring the spiritual, but we are not up in the clouds. We're grounded in how to actually integrate this into your own nervous system and understand how this interacts with your life experiences, the challenges that you've gone through, and how those experiences may be impacting your spiritual expansion. Very modern science meets ancient wisdom. And so if this resonated with you heavily, if you feel like you are on this kind of next evolution of your healing and spiritual journey, like maybe you had an initial awakening and it kind of didn't stick. Like you felt like you got lost again in your trauma responses, right? You got lost in the struggles and the striving. And now life has kind of brought you back to this next stage of it where you're like, oh, I think I'm ready now. Like there's actually no other choice but to allow this transformation. Like I have to go through this gateway. I'm here. I think 100% this journey is for you. And I am so excited truly to be able to guide you through this. It's one of my greatest joys is being able to have those aha moments with you in session as it's like, oh my goodness, right? Like the energy within our sessions, it's magical. It's magical being able to play off of this with another person who actually gets it and you're not feeling like you're crazy, right? Because it's not exactly traditional therapy, right? Or it's not something that you might be able to find with just anyone. And so if you feel like we're kindred spirits and this is resonating and it's resonating with how you feel your soul's path, your soul journey is opening up, then please come and join me in Oh Rebirth. Like I said, this is my New Year special, so there's a lot of extra bonus sessions. You know, this could easily be a larger investment, but I wanted to keep it somewhere in the mid-range so that more people could come in. I know that it still won't be affordable for everyone, but if it's something that you are willing to invest in, then please do come on in. And yeah, I would be so thrilled to journey with you this New Year's. And just a note on timing before I go. So I'm playing with the idea of keeping rebirth as one of the core coaching journeys, maybe something that I bring back every new year, or maybe we'll keep it open into the spring. I'm not really quite sure. It just depends on how it's resonating with you all. And if there, is an interest and you want to come in, obviously. So I might keep doors open, maybe into February. I'm not quite sure yet. But if that's the case, the price will change. So that New Year special, over $5,000 in bonus sessions and all of that won't be included, obviously, because we'll be into the year, right? So if you're someone who wants to invest in this journey and come in at that sweet spot, that sweet price point, if it's sweet to you, then please do come on in as soon as you can, because spots are limited. It is a private coaching journey, and there's only so many hours in the day. I hope to be able to reach many, many people through this YouTube channel. But in terms of the private coaching, obviously there's only so many spots, right? So if you're someone who feels really deeply called and this is resonating for you, please do go ahead and claim a spot, because I can't guarantee that one will always be open, or even that this program will be available throughout the year, though I might bring it back in the future. I'm not quite sure yet. So if the timing feels right, that's another thing, right? If the timing feels right, if you intuitively feel like the timing is now, then you want to join now. I never run the same program the same way, because I'm always going to be in a different place. And I feel deeply called to offer this currently, because I feel like energetically, I'm ready to collaborate with someone who's in this energetic space that is very similar. And I know we're going to like create magic together. And so there's a timing to this, right? And yeah, so I can't promise. I can't make any promises if this opportunity will be available next year or even into the spring. So if you feel that call, whenever you're watching, tap the link and see if a spot is available. All right, I hope you enjoy this video, and hopefully this has made things feel less intimidating. And it's not to say that your soul will go on this exact like 4-stage journey. It probably won't be like that. It'll probably be kind of a blend of different stages at different time. But I've really tried to create clear categories to help your nervous system feel like, okay, there's like kind of a process here. Yes, there's some mystery. Yes, there's a lot of unknown, but not everything is unknown. And there are people who have made this journey, and that means I can safely make it too. All right, ta-ta for now, and I hope to see you in the next video. We're going to get into some more details on nervous system regulation. I'm revisiting those videos that I created in December on the vagus nerve healing. So we're going to get into that topic a little bit more. And yeah, I hope you're enjoying this channel. Thank you guys so much. So I finally reached 1,000 subscribers. I feel like I really had to keep the vision. Growing on YouTube is so different. It feels like it's like hard for me to tell what's working and what's not. So I really do appreciate your feedback, and I've been getting more comments on videos, whether it's the shorts or these longer form videos. And thank you so much for that interaction. It's helping me to learn what works. And I think the channel is still kind of finding its audience. We're still kind of finding our group. And in the past, I've done videos on conscious intimacy. And I think that also means that this channel has been categorized in such a way that maybe it's not finding all the people that it's meant to, because I've really evolved in this work. Like I said, I started out, solely as like a tantric intimacy coach and as my own naturally, right? In practicing Tantra, you will be awakened. And so in the journey of that, there's just so much, there's so many layers, there's so much that I have to share and speak on. So I think this channel is still finding its tribe, but if you feel at home here, please do leave a comment. Don't feel shy to say hello. And yeah, let's make this a cool and welcoming and interesting part of the YouTube space. But yeah, thank you guys so much for helping me reach 1,000. And in this new year, may our community grow. May we connect more deeply with one another, and give me some ideas as well. I'm really new to like how to navigate YouTube. So if there's something that you enjoy from other creators that you'd like us to do in the future, can let me know. But yeah, I think that's all. Just thank you for 1,000 subscribers, and hopefully we'll be able to grow at a steady pace, and hopefully we'll find our footing this year, and this video will find who it's meant to. Thanks so much. Bye for now. Four months of deep replenishment, deep healing. We're gonna dive deep. I'm gonna hold your hand through all of it, and you will emerge renewed. You can check out the full breakdown of each session that's included. If you're recovering from narcissistic abuse, I've really catered these specialty sessions specifically for you. If you want to say yes to that journey, check out the details below, or let's make rebirth 2026. Let's do it.